export are grabbing from that, and we'll be able to show a graphic at the start of every meeting. So it's going to be some good stuff that we gather from you guys today. The next thing that I'm going to put into the chat box is going to be a booklet it's a calendar. I think we were told that some of the dates were wrong, and so we are updating those to just be the 2024 calendar dates. So give me just a second and that will be there as well. Can anyone hear Anna talking? Oh, no. Hear Anna
No,
talking.
we cannot hear Anna. We can't hear anything. It's just blank.
Okay. We're going to try and get that fixed in just a second. She just gave a great welcome. I heard it, but not you guys.
It was so good. Can you hear me now? Sounds like it.
Yes.
Great. Yeah. So I was saying that Allison will tell you if I don't hear people responding, I will just talk the whole time because I can't stand white space. It's something I'm working on personally, trying to figure out how to let white space exist, because that's where you give people an opportunity to ask questions, give you context. But if I don't hear you speak, I'll just talk the whole time because I'd rather die than live in white space. But I'm gonna give you a couple more minutes as you get those questionnaires filled out. I know Haley is watching to see. If you just joined us, there's a link in the chat. It is a Google Doc. We're gonna just track your metrics, right? We're big believers here in tracking metrics. If you're going to come and show up and give, we're not going to take 2 hours of your time. This thing's slated from 11 to 1. We will not be on this call until 1 o'clock. I hope you're going to spend the time block to go do some activities once we wrap up every day. That's kind of the game plan, was to block your calendar so you had a chance to stay on Zoom, pull out note cards, get on the phones, do the work that needs to be done in conjunction with the principles that we talk about. But we are going to start every week with a little bit of accountability. And so that Google Docs, it's going to be easy. You can just go in and fill it out. And every week we're going to track those metrics, be able to show you guys how your database is growing, how your contacts are growing, and what your business is doing in return. So take a few more seconds there. If anyone's done, I would love to start hearing from some people. In your questionnaire, you were kind of asked, who are you? What markets do you serve? How long have you been an agent? I'm going to go on mute for a minute and just let a couple of you guys pop in and just share, who are you? Where are you from? What does it look like? And I know this is always daunting on Zoom, but
yeah, I know I'm on the Zoom meeting too. Sorry.
We won't do it. So someone be the first one to go.
I'm Allison Greco, EXP. We are down here in the Beaufort, Bluffton.
Hold on, Allison, we can't hear you.
Oh, I'm on. Hello?
I can hear you, Allison.
Yeah. We good?
I can hear her too.
Okay,
yeah,
well,
I can hear you.
I'm Allison Greco. Anna, can we get a confirmation? Can you hear me, Anna?
I could hear you earlier, Allison, and now I can't hear you.
Well, everybody else can hear me. I'll just put it in the chat.
Allison, try one more time, please.
Hello? Hello?
Okay, we can hear you now.
Great. So I'm Allison Greco, EXP down here in Beaufort, South Carolina. We do Hilton Head, Beaufort, and now we actually just moved into the Charleston market. So we're so super excited about that. Our newest agent, Victoria, is with us on this training, and so we're happy to be here.
Thanks, Allison.
Somebody else hop in and introduce yourself. We don't want white space.
Eli Harris, I'm on Allison's team here in the Beaufort market. Excited to be here. Was there something else now? I've forgotten. Okay, cool.
I'm Allison Sleminski. I'm on the Triangle Experts team, part of EXP here in Raleigh, North Carolina.
I'm Selena Rini. I am with the Gillespie Group Real Estate team. We're with Carolina One Properties. It's a boutique firm in Wilmington, North Carolina.
Hey, I'm Sue LaFavi with EXP and hey, in Beaufort, South Carolina. Excited to be here.
I'm Tasha Smith. I'm out of Hampton, South Carolina. I'm with EXP Realty also, and I'm restarting my business from scratch.
Yay, that's awesome. Welcome.
Go, Tasha.
I can't hear some of these.
All right, awesome, guys. Thanks for that. It's good. It's good to hear other voices. Just again, you're filling out that thing. Hopefully most of you are done. I'm sure Haley's getting some of those in and she'll start compiling them. So just quickly, and again, if I know some of you might be in the car, I'd love to see some faces. So please feel free to turn that camera on. I'd love to see you. If you look, 9 responses. We got 27 on. So 2/3 of you guys finish out. Was my math right? If you can turn your cameras on, we'd love to see your faces. I don't really care what you look like. The only reason I'm here dressed is because I had to lead it. Otherwise, I'd be at home probably looking a little slubbish myself today on this fine Tuesday. How many of you, just show of hands or put in the chat box, how many of you feel like you have a robust sphere of influence? A robust sphere of influence. And if you don't know what sphere of influence is, you're in the right place. So just don't answer. Most of us, this is a word that it's a hot trigger word that I do feel like a lot of people don't fully understand. So I'm always curious, like robust sphere of influence. How many of you feel like you have a good set of contacts that you can go to, that you work with, that you connect with? Okay. A lot of you feel like you do. How many of you feel like your sphere of influence is working for your business to the best of its ability? Yeah. The good news, like all of us should say no. Like we should all say no, right? Otherwise you probably wouldn't be here. Yeah. We should all be saying no. So I'm going to give you guys, and if you got our little handbook, we'll add some notes. It's just a place for you to kind of be able to jot down some thoughts, grab a notepad too. We're going to spend some time today really understanding what our SOI is, because I think that if you get into real estate and especially if you go through traditional brokerage and you go into an office and you're sitting in training, I swear it's like all of a sudden, like this hot trigger word is the answer to all your problems. How many of you were promised that if you worked your sphere of influence, you would make lots of money in real estate? I was promised that, right? The problem is a lot of people don't really understand what the sphere is. And more importantly, they don't understand what the purpose of the sphere is. One of the things too I want to show you today are the benefits of working through your sphere of influence. And then we're going to actually go into some identification of sphere of influence together. So full disclosure, our team was going to literally just tap into Brian Buffini. We were going to run a 6-week Brian Buffini mastery course, his beginner course. Megan and Rachel were wanting that. And we were leaning in that direction. And then we kind of realized, hey, it's a pretty passive process. You're kind of watching Brian, who is a genius. And if you don't know Brian Buffini, write his name down right now. But Brian goes through a series of just kind of recorded video that you watch as a group and then you kind of facilitate and chat. And I thought, what if we could take the experience that I know we have within this group and actually use our hands-on experience with Sphere of Influence to help make this a little bit more interactive? And so that's the goal today. So let's dive right in and chat about understanding your sphere of influence. So for most of us, the conceptual overview here is going to be that this is relationship driven and not transaction driven. Is there a ton of different ways to run a real estate business? Absolutely, yes. There's so many ways that you can do this. How many of you are on here? How many of you are on the phones pretty regularly, like doing cold prospecting work? Raise your hands if you're on, or type in the chat if you're not. Great. What, just for those of you, I think, Lois, you raised your hand. What's your target there? Are you expired, FSBOs, farming? What does that look like for you on a regular basis, Lois?
At this point, we're just doing lead prospecting for people who have come through our website.
Perfect. We spend a lot of time there too. What do you feel like, how long have you been working in that data set? How long have you been in that kind of world?
As a team, we're pushing really hard right now, but we've been at it for, gosh, a while.
Okay. What do you feel like average, like lead lifespan is of those leads that you're working right now?
There's a $1 million question. I have no idea. If you don't get them when they're hot, then you're waiting for them to sell that house that they bought with somebody else.
Yeah. We're going through the same thing. We've got a lot of online leads that are trickling through, and managing them can be a little hair pulling at sometimes, trying to figure out who are they, where are they, who else raised their hand that's doing some prospecting work. Anybody doing a lot of expires work on the call? Looking for hands. Emily Brown does this at a high level. We were talking with her this week, and she's very results driven. Her DISC profile kind of rewards her brain for successes. And so that kind of work of being on the phone, waiting for the person, going through the process, getting the win, setting the appointment, like that's very rewarding for a lot of people's personality types. It was not for mine. So I'm super high I on the DISC scale. Raise your hand if you're familiar with the concept of the DISC scale. How many of you know what you are? Any I's on this call? Keep your hand up. Any D's on this call? Some more D's, S's or C's. I just group you guys together. I know you're unique, but not in my world because I'm all I. So one of the things with an high I, which is what I am, I tend to really value the relationship piece. I don't need that reward. I don't need that. We did this, we accomplished this. Here's the benchmark. I don't need that. I have to really train my brain to work that. So for me, working my sphere of influence was a really therapeutic way to do business. Because it is relationship driven, not transaction driven. And there's a little bit of a different, and there's definitely different nuances to working your sphere of influence versus working a pile of leads. When I tell you a sphere of influence, how many of you anticipate and think that I'm talking about leads? Raise your hand if that's how you feel, because we're going to try to correct that today. It's better to know than not to know. The misconception that people make on sphere of influence is they believe that inherently it's a pile of leads. But the way that Lois is calling her lead gen every single day and going through those online leads looks very different than how we nurture our SOI. But so often agents will make the mistake of putting them all together and being like, these are my leads, right? And they're very quick to give up on sphere of influence work when that doesn't come in the results driven way of I set an appointment, I went and showed a house, we wrote a contract, and I got a paycheck. And sometimes that can be really a problem. So if you can look at it from the top down, this is a relationship driven activity, not a transaction driven activity. Make sense? We're focusing on finding that buyer, finding that seller, closing the deal, whereas working on this kind of referral system is built more on building and nurturing long-term relationships. For some of you that don't have that sales drive in you, this should feel and sound really good and appealing to you. It did to me, right? I really enjoyed that. So when we're talking about the major principles of SOI work, and this is going to sound really nice because I've got a couple of different points. The first one's going to talk about the character of the work, right? Number one, authenticity. And I'd love for Allison to hop in and chat on this too. People can absolutely sense inauthenticity from a mile away. So one of the most important things I can tell you when you're working on your sphere is you have to be authentically you from start to finish in this process. That means how you show up in your cards, how you show up in your e-newsletters, how you show up in your social media, how you show up on the phone, how you show up when you see them at a baseball game. What agents will do is this weird thing happens. They become an agent, and then some trainer somewhere tells them, don't be a secret agent, right? Who's heard that? Like, don't be a secret agent. And so then you, all of a sudden, it's like you forget who you are and you go show up to these people thinking you've got to suddenly revert from the person that you've been to these people for 30 years. And it's very confusing and people sense it. And that is why you too feel like you're becoming a salesman. Allison, talk to us a little bit about this, because I know you have, I mean, you are so authentically you. You show up as you all the time. I think you do it better than anyone. I mean, you know that this is, I think, critical to working this data set.
Yeah, I would say also, I've got some drilling going on in the background, so I apologize if you guys can hear that. But I would say that the one thing that I think makes real estate agents successful at a high level is that they don't see themselves as salespeople, right? So like I want a board on my wall that says stop selling real estate, because that's what it is. I don't believe that people like to be sold. I mean, there's a few of us that want to be able to just say like, this is the next step. This is what we need from your sales agent. But the commission breath, if you've ever heard that word, I think that is something that's very prevalent in our society throughout real estate right now, is that people are just trying to get that deal and trying to get that commission. And I think if you come from it, from a giving standpoint and what you can bring to the table for them and how you're helping them, that really shines through. But the second that your focus is on just like that next transaction and you're not being relationship driven and you're being transaction driven, I think that is like the biggest mistake we make as salespeople.
I have behind me, for those of you that are not here, which there's only 3 in the office. This is a Zoom call. Kristen was like, do I need to come in the office? It's like, absolutely. This is an in-person event. It's not. I'm not even talking to her. And behind me is, and it's a Brian Buffini principle, and it's just a picture of a lighthouse in a storm. So one of the big things that I would say right now is, why do I think right now is a prime time to teach an SOI course? I'm going to give you some context about who I am. I came into real estate in 2015. I started building an individual business. How many of you here, raise your hand, individual agents? I love individual agents. Oh, I love individual agents. I was an individual agent for a long time. I loved being an individual agent. I loved my business in that capacity. And I came in a time where I needed to build a business quickly. I went through my sphere of influence. I came in prior to COVID. I'm a COVID baby as far as building a team goes. But when I came in, it was not a wonderful market. Allison, I know you've got some time. There's some people here that have really been in down markets, right? If you are a COVID baby from the last couple years, as far as building your business, you know, the market made a lot of conversions for us. Raise your hand if you believe that to be true. Let me explain that a little bit further. My salesmanship didn't matter a ton over the last couple of years, because ultimately I had buyers that wanted that 2.5% interest rate. I could have sold them a pile of dog poop and they were happy. I didn't have a hard time getting a listing agreement signed when I walked into a listing and said, oh, no, actually I can sell your home for $50,000 more than you thought. And also you don't have to show it because we'll have it under contract before we even hit the market. I didn't have a hard time selling in the last couple of years that we've been in. One of the things that we're going into now is, I think we can all agree that it's not that overall we're in this absolutely terrible market. I think we're in a market that a lot of people don't understand. And we've swung so quickly from one place to the other. And one of the things I'll never forget that Brian Buffini said, he talked about, when the storms come, we look towards the lighthouse, right? We're going to look towards the lighthouse every time. So this is really good news for those of you that are going to get in here and be beacons for your community. That's our tagline here at our team, to be a beacon in the community by putting people first. That is literally what we live by. Because the water is a little rocky right now. It's really hard to navigate. People are struggling to know, should I put my home on the market? Should I not? Should I buy now? Should I wait till these rates come down? And whereas we've had the ability for people to click online and maybe go find someone to open a door, we are truly now in a position where we can set ourselves up as lighthouses in the community. And there's no one that's going to look to you faster than people that already know, like, and trust you. So in going through this, I hope you understand the benefit you have now, I think, is to make your business so much more expansive in times like these, because it isn't smooth sailing, and they're looking for someone, and they're going to look for something that they know and trust and has a track record. And that's what you really have the advantage on your sphere of influence. Lois, I keep picking on you, but like, when I get on the phone with our online leads from realty.com, like I got a chore in front of me, right? I got to show them that they can know, like, and trust me on a phone call, right? That they're going to give me maybe 60 seconds of their attention and then cast all their judgment. For me, it's much more enjoyable to be able to have a conversation about the real estate market, about someone's home being positioned in the real estate market, at the post office, at a ball game, at church, wherever I may be, where they already know, like, and trust me. If I have to pick those conversations, I'm not saying you can just have one or the other. I've gone down that route. You got to balance this. But if we could get better at the conversations where you are truly being a lighthouse and you're not literally trying to explain to someone what a lighthouse is, you can just get a lot more traction a lot faster. Yeah. So that's the thing about authenticity, though, is if you've been someone, you can't just because all of a sudden you're trying to make a real estate sale, you can't all of a sudden change that who you are because someone told you can't be a secret agent. You can still be you and be a real estate agent. People do it all the time, right? You don't have to completely change who you are. Second thing is you're going to have to work, and this goes back to the principles, diversify, right? You're going to have very close, and especially in this market where, again, the market's not making this conversion for us, right? These people aren't waking up and saying, oh, I would like a new house and a 2.5% interest rate. You're going to have to diversify your contacts going forward. And this is something that I don't think that I had a really good understanding of until more recently. When you have close contacts that consistently refer you or do business with you, that's amazing. And you start getting that core group. One thing that agents don't do well is they don't start diversifying that. In your homework, because I gave you homework, I'm going to give you a podcast to listen to with Kyle Whistle and one of his agents. And they're going to talk about engineering social situations, right? They're going to talk about going and putting yourself into spaces to engineer conversations with people to grow your SOI. There's a fine line here, right? If you're not authentically interested in a knitting club, that might not be the place that you go show up, right? Because you've got to be your authentic self. But you are going to have to start making sure that you're diversifying who you're around. You need to extend those demographics to make sure that you're reaching multiple populations. So being able to diversify who you're adding to that sphere on a daily basis is important. People love to throw out networking events, joining community groups, things like that. Again, don't do it inauthentically. If you want to poke your eyeballs out before you want to go to a young professionals network at your chamber event, they will know it the second that you walk in there. But you've got to go find the places that you can be authentically you and diversify your sphere. Another thing that's so important is that trustworthiness. And we're going to talk about, not today, but through this course, can you get my laptop charger? It's in my bag. Yeah. We're going to talk about this course, some of the communication methods. And what I'm going to tell you right now is that trustworthiness is probably one of the most important pieces in here. I've had people that have bought and sold with me because they got a monthly mailer every single month. Now, half of them, and Haley is one of them, didn't open it. She opened the pie recipe. I know sometimes that those mailers just get chucked in the trash. What you're going to be able to do with your calls, with your newsletters, with your handwritten cards, with your client events, if you do it consistently, which is the word none of us like, because it's not fun and it's not flexible and it's not sexy and it's not why we got into real estate. But if you can establish those rhythms with your SOI, that is one of the best ways to prove trustworthiness. Because the last thing you want to do is call your sphere and be like, I just want to remind you I'm trustworthy. I'm real trustworthy. Like, no, you're not going to do that. So you have to do it with the consistency of your marketing and your actions. Make sense? Anybody see that correlation or want to speak to that correlation as far as consistency in marketing and trustworthiness? Has anyone had an experience? I have it with my monthly mailers. I have people that have told me, like, I use you because you consistently show up. I post that I go to the gym 3 times a week. I post the same, it's the most bizarre thing. I post the same social media post every morning. It's of my left shoulder. I try to kind of flex my arm so it looks a little bit like buffer than it actually is. Like if you saw my face, I would look like I was about to die, which most of the time I am. And I just put this little caption that says dues paid. I've posted that over the course of probably 3 months. The engagement on that post every morning is insane. It's insane, to the point where when I was in Vegas and I didn't post it because we were in Vegas, people were like, where are you? Are you showing up for yourself? Here's what's wild. That is showing consistency to my network, and it has absolutely nothing to do with real estate, but I know that it's valuable to me because it's showing that trustworthiness, that I'm willing to show up on a consistent basis for myself. Who else has an example of where that's worked for you in your business before?
Okay,
Someone
so I do quarterly pop buys. As a matter of fact, I'm working on them right now. Here's just one. It says, happy fall, your referrals light up my business, and then has my name and EXP. And then I've got a, just a little candle for fall. So.
And what's the feedback from your clients on that? I mean, are they in a place now, Sue, where they're expecting that item to show up at their door?
It's a mixed review. Half of them will text me, thank me. Most of them aren't ever home, so I just leave them at the doorstep. Some, one I never heard from for 2 years and religiously dropped them off. And then she called me, 6 weeks ago to list her house because I always remembered her, even though she never acknowledged I ever dropped anything off, which was kind of weird. So. Yeah.
Some agents love the pop by experience. They love going and getting the ideas, putting it together. I'll be the first to tell you, I'm not one of those people. I feel like it is a monumental task every single time I have to do it. And if those of you that have listened to me recently know, I'm very into this infinite game theory. And one of the things there is the just cause, not just cause, but the just cause, J-U-S-T, just. And I think one thing that if you struggle with this consistency, if you can remember that it's a direct correlation to the trustworthiness that you're putting into the market, it may give you a little bit more reason to get that mailer out, because trust me, there's nothing I hate more than knowing that deadline's at my back. I don't have a ton of tenacity. Some of you were on this call at 10 o'clock for that reason. I hate having to organize, plan, put things together like that. I want to come up with the idea and I want to move on. But I do know that executing this marketing at a high level on a consistent basis that we're going to talk about starting next week will show that is trustworthiness at its core. All right, so now we're going to get in. Oh, sorry. Yes, please.
One thing that, especially when I was a solo agent and now going into the team aspect of it, I don't know if anybody else feels this way, but like one of my agents one time explained that the first call feels like she's picking up a cinder block or like a brick, right? It was just like the hardest thing to do. And that correlation for me is when I've gone too long between calling a past client of mine or one of my sphere of influences, because it's the guilt, the heaviness of it to say like, well, what am I doing? Am I calling just cause, or am I calling with a just cause, right? And so the more that you figure out a system of touching them, like drip campaigns, email blast, all of these things, you're not going these 3, 6, 9 months, maybe even 3 years, that then you decide to get kind of that fire under your ass and start calling because business is slow. And now it's like, hey, Justine, I'm just calling because you bought a house with me 3 years ago. What's the plan? Like that sounds super salesy. So if you realize that the tighter you make the time between calling them and touching them and seeing them, all of a sudden you're not calling to get their business. You're calling because you guys are friends and you're connected and it's not weird. And all of a sudden when you realize that phone's not as heavy anymore, it's heavy because you feel guilty because you haven't called them, and the call you're making is just to sell them something.
Yeah, it's a box check, right? All right, Anna said I got to call my past clients. I mean, if you're not doing this week is going to be really hard. So let me give you some communication tips that also are still principles of SOI, right? Like this communication pattern. Like, again, I think that this is so missed because, again, a trainer somewhere tells you don't be a secret agent, pick up the phone, call your sphere, ask them for a referral. And they don't really give you the nuances of what's the components of that. What does that look like? So another one of these big principles of SOI work to me is communication, right? So we had character. Those are the things we just went through. And now we're going through communication. So number one, you have to give value first. You have to give them value first. Before you can start jumping in, asking for referrals, asking for business, you always are going to have to provide value. What's magical about this is like it's nothing revolutionary. You don't need to, donate a lung to them, right? It's not anything that's surmountable that you can't do it. It's market insights, right? Helpful tips, just being there. I'll give you an example. When we were in the midst of COVID, I was in an office and that was one of my big pushes, was calling my people during COVID, right? Especially right after the shutdown. I had friends in the event planning network. I had friends that were all over, like constantly, traveling for outside sales gigs, like all kinds of stuff. And I remember having conversations with agents and they'd be like, oh my gosh, I just don't know what to call and talk to them about. And I was like, if you can't pick up the phone and ask someone how they're doing when our entire country is upside down and they are stuck at home with their 3 kids and they don't know if if you can't call and say, hey, how are things going in your world? This is so weird. I told them, like, go get another job, because I don't know how you're going to continue to be able to do this kind of work if you can't pick up the phone and just ask a simple question in the midst of a global pandemic to ask someone how they are. And that could be your value proposition. It literally could just be calling to say, hey, you were on my mind, right? People always think it sounds creepy. I just wanted to see, how are things going? Use the power of, this is where people screw this up all the time. They think social media is going to be a replacement for this work. Use social media as the leverage that it can be to give you some context to make that call and ask how vacation looks. But in your communication patterns, value has to come first. One place that we miss it hugely, and Allison really just alluded to it very well, is service after the sale. How many of you get done with these people and you're like, oh my gosh, I never want to talk to them again? Some of you aren't raising your hands. You're better agents than I am, which tells you if I can do the business I'm doing with that attitude, you guys can crush it. I am so tired. And something about it's in my personality. I'm so tired of these people by the time we're done. I'm so over it. They've done crazy things. Crazy things. They've altered the way that I look at them as people, because I just saw them in the most stressful environment in their life. And so there's a part of me that just wants to move away from it. We screw it up with service after the sale. If you don't have a past client group that has turned into your raving fans as part of your sphere of influence, this is where you've missed it. It's your service after the sale. The other thing I just talked about with trustworthiness, again, it's consistent communication. And that's something real estate agents hate hearing that word. They don't want to actually have to be consistent in things, but making sure that you're doing the activities on a regimented basis so that you're not catching them off guard, that it feels like it is supposed to be that way, even, spread out, organized, and expected, right? And that's what I was asking Sue. Do your clients come to expect it? We didn't give out sparklers this year. And I heard about it. It was bad. And that was a bad look on my business. I should have sucked it up and gotten it done. And then finally, being able to educate your clients. This is another place where people don't get it. You would be shocked at how many people in the world do not understand, number one, what you do, how you get paid, how you generate business. So a lot of you, I have, again, I keep picking on Haley sitting here. Haley has literally been like, well, Scott, we didn't want to bother you. Have you ever had a client tell you that? I didn't want to bother you. That's on us for not asking for business often enough. That's on us for giving a persona that we're so busy that our business wouldn't be put off by not being able to work with people that are close in our sphere. So educating your clients, making sure that they understand that your referrals are really important, rewarding that behavior. When someone gives you a referral, don't wait for it to close and send them something nice. Reward the behavior, send them something upon that referral hitting you in your database. Making sure that you're literally educating them on, guys, be transparent on, I told people when my mom passed away, I knew there were going to be people that were not going to want to call my phone for real estate needs. And the best thing I could share with them was, if I don't work, my family's not eating. If I don't work, I'm not able to give back to this community. Please don't, I need your business. You have to humble yourself to be willing to explain that hunger that you have for business to people, because assuming that they understand how you get paid, what that looks like, it's not reality, right? And then finally, we did character. We've done communication. The last piece of these principles are constituents. You've got to identify advocates. I'm going to give you my best example. I give this every time I talk about sphere of influence. I'm a Brian Buffini certified mentor, and this is like my favorite story. Everyone on my team has heard it 90,000 times. I have a sweet friend named Claire. Claire and I went to college together. We were gelling real good. All right. I've sold my first sphere, like TAP was into my college network. I sold everybody's, like from Elon, everyone's house in Raleigh for like 5 years. It was like basically my whole book of business. Claire was from Elon. I was like, this is perfect. She was in a different sorority. This is going to be a whole different section of people. I was so excited. We had coffee. We did all the things. She loved my marketing. She told me my marketing was amazing. And then the bitch put her house up for sale with somebody, and I didn't know who it was. And I was like, that is not fair, Claire. You told me that you liked my marketing. So I did what a lot of agents don't have the gumption to do. And I sent her a text. And I was like, hey, I'm really sorry. I was like, is there something else I could have done to earn your business here? If you've never sent that text message, the first one sucks. The rest of them, it's almost entertaining. It's almost fun, because then you're like, I got to figure this out. I'm gonna ask you, why don't you use me? And Claire's like, oh my gosh, I have to use my mother. It's my mother-in-law. I got to use her. I was like, okay. Claire sends me 3 referrals a year, like clockwork, every single one of her friends, because you know who Claire's not going to refer? Her mother-in-law. You know why? Because her mother-in-law is crazy. So this was a prime example of where we get wrong, right? I thought Claire was an advocate. Our first piece here is identifying your advocates, right? But then what happened was, if I would have been short-sighted, I'd been like, damn it, Claire's not an advocate for me anymore. So I'm going to get her out of my spreadsheet, get her out of my database, and move on. When in fact, Claire was a huge advocate. It's just, it was so easy to then say, but her mother-in-law's an agent. She won't use me. She's not an advocate. So you have to identify your advocates, and you have to really commit to those people that you know are advocates. And you can't just let the powers that be or the events that occur allow you to shift that. Second thing is, you've got to monitor your sources. You have to know who's sending you referrals. If you're not keeping up with who's referring you, who are those raving fans, you're missing your mark, because some of you may have databases of 20 to 30 people. Some of you may be 70 to 100. Our data set has 11,000 people in it now, and my personal sphere is about 500. I can't manage 500 sphere of influences efficiently. So I have to know who is showing up for us, who is giving us those referrals. What is my constituent base that is like tried and true? There is no other agent coming off their lips. Who are those people? Because those are the places when you've got 500 contacts, I can't give out 500 sets of sparklers, but I'll be danged, I can take care of those 20 that are constantly referring. If you're not doing the work to understand who those people are, you're missing the power of your sphere. Another big thing that agents won't do with their constituents is they won't manage their database. How many of you have a closed seller in your database and you don't even have their new address in there? Me. It's me. I have that. I know I have that problem in multiple places. So database management has to become part of this constituent principle. And finally, again, we talked about it earlier, really diversifying and making sure that you're going into different places to build that. So again, if I had to summarize, if you're looking at the principles of SOI work, number one, it's your character, right? That's number one. I think it's the most important thing that you can do. Number two is creating communication that's effective. That's where a lot of people miss the mark. They'll communicate, but it's not clear. And we'll do a little bit of branding work in another week. And then your constituents, right? Putting those 3 things together. If I really wanted to be smart, I probably would have put constituents first, so you can put that client first. That'd have been a little more salesy and impactful. But those are my 3 C's. Any feedback or questions on those items, or anything I've said resonate with someone, or anyone have an example of where something through those topics kind of worked in your business?
Hi, Anna. So good to see you. It's Jennifer Cervera. I did have a question because I believe that it was Allison that mentioned it, and I was like, yep, she's talking to me. So I feel like, I have amazing relationship with my past clients, and that's what I mostly consider my sphere. And they are amazing. They're loyal. They come back to me. I've had clients that I've sold 4 or 5 houses and to their families and whatnot. But some of them I haven't talked to in, 2 years, because that's completely my fault. And so when Allison was saying it, it's like, how do I reach out to them now? Not sounding like a creep, like, oh, why are you calling me all of a sudden? So I know, you're so big on Brian Buffini, any like things that I feel like I do keep up with them on Facebook, but on the phone, some of them I haven't talked to in easily a year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah, I'll let Allison follow up with this. I'll just start with Brian has a really good, oops, I'm sorry, like messaging. And I have had to use it before where I've literally just had like, and that goes back to authenticity, right? I've just had to go back and be like, hey man, I'm sorry. Like I dropped the ball on this. Life has gotten crazy. And he's got a wonderful mail piece that actually has the script. If you Google it, I'm sure it'll come up. You can chat GBT it and they'll probably write it for you. But there is definitely room for that apology, that recognition of that communication being shut off, and the genuine desire to reconnect. Again, if it's coming from authenticity, then even better. The point that you don't want to use that is when it's gotten so late, and all of a sudden there is some kind of real estate need and you feel like you're going to go plug that hole. So I always say the sooner you can apologize and get that relationship back where you feel like it's not hard to pick up the phone, the better. But I'm sure Allison will have a better script. She's a genius.
Well, I would say, like, I hope this doesn't feel like a cop out by any stretch of the imagination, but I think the easiest way is to have something to invite to, and maybe there's a cause behind it. So if you haven't done like a client event recently or anything like that, instead of just picking up the phone, have something to invite to. And if you don't have like the funds or whatever in your business to do some big client event, you could always do something like a food drive for Thanksgiving for a shelter or a food bank. And what you could start by doing is picking up the phone, and a cool way to do it, to reconnect too, is to grab like brown paper bags from your Food Lion or Bilo or whatever, have a cool flyer that explains what the cause is for. You're collecting food goods for your food bank or your homeless shelter, and when the pickup date is, or where the drop off is. Give them a phone call to say, hey, I'm running this really great food drive for Thanksgiving, and then drop it by their house. And that might be a way that you get to see them and connect in person. That's a really affordable, easy way to do it. Another way is to do a fall festival or something from a client, face-to-face situation where you can just say, hey, we're having a great client event. We'd love for you and the family to come out. That way it doesn't feel awkward and you're not doing anything with real estate. Again, I'm going to go back to like, don't sell real estate. That's not what they want. You're always going to be top of mind because they're following you on social media, or you're doing something for the community and there's a cause behind it. And so maybe debunk the whole I have to call them and even bring up real estate. Like, do something that's for the community, and that might be a nice kind of like way to ease back into their to slide into their DMs.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, and Dan Beer's a master. Like, the invitation's enough. I mean, you've heard him speak enough times, Jen. Like, the invitation's enough. Like, we are doing our big pie giveaway. Like, the invitation is the meat, and everything after that is, a little extra. Anybody else have questions or something we can pop?
I will say that we are coming up on Thanksgiving, and this is a really big time for people that want to be giving, right? And that brown paper bag idea is an awesome idea to circle prospect for your open houses as well. So if you're going to do an open house from 12 to 2 on a Saturday, pepper the neighborhood with that plastic bag, and then pick up after the open house. And then when you pick up the plastic bag or the paper bag with the canned goods, have an already written thank you note at the end, so that if they leave something on their step, then you have a thank you note with like a QR code that drives them back to your website. The giving season is now, and so really start capitalizing on that.
Awesome. All right, so
can I ask one quick question? Sorry, I just thought of it. Okay, so I am weird about inviting people to be friends with me on my Facebook page. Like, does everybody, like these clients, does everybody automatically, or do you feel comfortable like befriending all of your clients on Facebook?
You should be, because you post pictures of cute dogs that are
yeah, you're like,
if my page looked like yours, I would have no fear. No,
yeah,
there's a good There's a good script for that though. You can be like, oh my gosh, I put your number in my phone and creepy old Facebook was like, y'all should be friends. So I was like, we need to be friends. I mean, that like, there's truth behind that. You put someone in their phone, you put a phone number in, Meta knows right away that you need to try to connect on social. So just use the creepiness that exists in social media world to your advantage and just put it into your scripting.
Okay. I feel like I should, but I'm not. So, okay. Thanks.
You should. I mean, my page, like yours especially, because like yours is adorable. Like Sue's adorable. If you don't follow Sue on social, you should. Everyone should go like Sue's page. She posts a cute dog up for adoption every single week. It's so cute.
And you can also learn a lot from her on YouTube. She's got an amazing business through YouTube.
Oh, yeah. Well, thanks.
Okay, I have a couple benefits. So if you're kind of like me, I need to understand some of the why am I doing something. I need sometimes a little extra motivation other than my tenacity boxes said I need to do these 5 or 6 activities. So if you are high on that working genius scale, have a little bit more WI in you, and you're kind of wondering, there's benefits to working through your SOI in the way that you live your life every single day. Again, I built my business on this as a solopreneur, so I'm really passionate about this. This is not to say that if I would have been a Mike Ferry cold hard expired call that there's not tons of benefits to that as well. I'm just here to show you what I think the benefits are to working through your SOI. Number one, I think it's going to give you an incredible mindset shift. I hear this all the time. How many of you are at an open house and somebody comes in and you stand kind of paralyzed behind the counter or the island and you never take down their information because you don't want to bother them? I don't want to bother them, right? I don't want to be most of us didn't get into this business to be salespeople. Spoiler alert, you're going to have to figure it out because that's how you get money. Like that's how you make money. I'm very sorry to tell you that. But most of us did not get into this business. I mean, if you pull a group of agents, and I don't know if it's just the superficial throwaway answer or if it's true, I really don't know. But if you ask them, why did you get into real estate? They'll tell you flexibility. That's normally like right there at the top. They wanted to be an entrepreneur and they wanted to help people. How many of you have heard an agent say, I want to help people? This is one of those places where I do really believe that you can live in that space that so many of us say it's the reason we got into real estate in the first place. Most of us didn't get into real estate because we were like, I want to be a killer salesperson. I mean, no one's ever said that to me. I think once you grow the business, you realize that sales can be a vehicle for building a business that has longevity and has a lot of components to it that are much bigger than selling homes. But most people will tell you that they got into real estate because they wanted to help people. So in that regard, this mindset shift that happens, I think, working with your SOI, it really does give you the opportunity to be a trusted advisor. You're able to set yourself up in that capacity much differently than a salesperson just because of the nature of the conversations that you're having, right? At the heart of a referral system like this is being able to be seen as a trusted advisor. You'll see people use that in their marketing. I'm a trusted real estate advisor, not real estate agent. There's a reason for those swaps because the advisor position has much more longevity. We've gone through them recently, but it's not very typical that people are jumping. Like most people have lawyers that they stick with. Most people have CPAs that have longevity to that relationship. And so again, being able to really use this and put yourself in that position to be that trusted advisor is huge. Again, going back to the authenticity and the integrity, I think it's huge because you don't need to sit here and be worried in this system about how do I sound to this person? Kind of like what you were talking about, Jen, like how do I not sound creepy? This type of selling, this type of database building will keep you from having to feel like if you're being creepy more often than not. And for some of us, again, a high I, like I just enjoy it a whole lot more. The other thing that's been a huge benefit to me is I've deepened a lot of relationships. And I mean this from the bottom of I mean this very seriously. I have relationships that without the real estate piece, my relationship may have stayed a lot more surface level. Think about the things that your clients share with you. Think about the intimate moments that you're part of. Think about the arguments that you see. Think about the life changes that you're top of mind. Someone has a baby, someone dies, someone moves away. Like these things that are happening that are so central to their protagonist's life story, right? they're pulling you in. And so I will tell you that one of the greatest benefits of working this way is I feel like I'm deeper in people's lives than I would be in another career. And again, for those of us that got into the business to help people, this is kind of huge. That was a really big thing for me, was to be able to deepen those relationships. Another thing, and we talked about it, this is more tactical, but like being able to host events. Like I get to host events all the time. I don't have big marketing ad spend. I'm not spending a ton on print marketing. I'm not putting a lot of billboards up. I'm not doing a lot of direct mail. I'm not putting a lot of money into paper or digital marketing. I'm putting it back into my people. So think about this. What if you could take that wealth that you're building through your real estate business to be able to reinvest into the people that you already know, love, and trust yourself? And so being able to host events, do those pop buys, gift when something big happens, to be able to know that my marketing dollars are just going back to people that I already love is huge. And you know what? It makes it very much easier to swallow what we look at as our marketing spend at the end of the year, when I know it's gone to treat people and it's not passive paper that someone swept up their dust in their kitchen floor with because it was a nice sturdy cardboard sheet that I paid God knows what, saying just sold in their neighborhood. So the regular events has been huge for us. We know, like, we just announced our pie event, and like the feedback already of people being like, oh, this is so great. We're so excited to come back together. Being able to put money in those places is very rewarding. And then increase client loyalty. Jen, I know you are a master at this because I know you've had repeat clients. When you work this way, again, you're so vested in the process that even if they started as a online lead, Lois hit them up this afternoon and said, you were looking at 123 Main Street. Would you like to go take a look at that? Lois could go, and this is what makes it so powerful. This is why I think this is the piece. If people could get this, you can add the lead gen in. It's not rocket science. I think this is so much more nuanced and it's harder. Lois can go show them that listing. And maybe we find out that they've had a hardship and they can't afford it. A good agent is going to recognize, well, how do I get this person into my sphere, right? How do I increase this client loyalty so that the next time they're looking at something, they're not clicking a button and ending up in some other agent's database? And that's where the power right now, I think, is you can establish yourself as that lighthouse and get that client loyalty. You become active so much earlier in the process. There's a great concept of blue ocean, right? Everyone raise your hand if you're familiar. We call Amazon a blue ocean company. What happens with most agents is we're sitting in bloody shark-infested red water at the bottom of a sales funnel. We're sitting there waiting for that lead who's ready to go look at the house, who's ready to list their property, who wants the instant cash offer. And spoiler alert, they're all in our databases. The same person. I get people, how many times, listen, you do this? They'll be like, I don't know. I've clicked on so many websites. I don't know what's going on. To me, again, while that's an important part of our business, we keep that lead flow going. I do know that my sphere of influence work takes me into blue ocean every single time, because I'm not over there competing with agents when I'm doing these client events, when I'm sending the market updates. I'm in this beautiful, crystal clear blue ocean. I'm not competing for attention with a bunch of other agents. And what happens is my people then never have to go into that disgusting, like sales driven environment, because they were able to stay in our blue ocean the whole time. So I want you to think about your sphere of influence, creating that environment for the people that you care about, that have given you business, that refer you. Keep them in the blue ocean. Don't make these people go click on a link somewhere and get in a fight over 6 agents who want to go show up at their house to answer a cash offer request that they clicked on Google. Don't make them go through that. Increased client loyalty will get you in the process much earlier. And then you will be able to, again, find that the activities that you're doing to propagate those relationships are way less sales driven and they're far more relational based. Make sense? I think there's higher job satisfaction in doing work this way. I mean, I'm biased. It's no different than Amy Gregory talking about Instagram being the answer to your business. It's no different than Emily Brown talking about how it inspired to build her business. Everyone's going to have a different way to do real estate. That's one of the reasons why I love it. But I am here to tell you that I feel like I have very high job satisfaction because of the way that I've worked Sphere. Again, my marketing costs, I think, are way more efficient. But what's been really amazing is the predictable business that's come out of this. There is a persona of, if you want to go get business now, you need to go find the person that's raised their hand. You need to go get into that shark infested red water. If you do this consistently, which again is the word no one wants to talk about, and I'm teaching this course to ensure that my consistency stays strong. All right. So don't think for a second I've got this down. I teach this class over and over again. I've done it for years and years because it makes me sit here and tap into the activities that I know will generate business. But I couldn't shut this thing down now, right? How many of you want a business that you could not shut down? I don't want it to ever have that point where I know that my next lead could be my last. And this really will give you that sense of security. And I think it's one of the best output benefits from working your sphere. Who on the call is doing sphere work you feel like at a pretty high level? Raise your hand or start chatting. Anyone want to share just like maybe some growth numbers or what their business looks like as a result of working their sphere? So it's not just me telling you that it's great.
I can tell you that I don't take new leads. I'm a team leader. So I've got buyers and listing agents, and I don't take new leads. The only leads that come in that I work are people that are from my sphere or my sphere's referrals to me. And I think that it's all about being authentic and doing a really, really good job. And the end of the transaction is really the beginning of your relationship with them, right? And making sure that you're doing all these things that Anna is talking about and staying in front of them and just coming from contribution consistently and being very authentic. And my phone rings now. I was on the phone with an agent and I said, oh, I got to take this call. And when I got off, she said, oh, what was that about? And I said, oh, they were calling me to list their house. And she said, gosh, that must be nice. You get called to list their house. You don't have to call people to ask to list their house. And that's just a result of building a really, really good business and giving really good service for a consistent period of time, I believe.
Yeah, blue ocean. You're not going on a listing appointment with 4 other agents, having to cut commission, figure out how to make this work. You know, all the things I think that can make, for those of you that aren't in love with the sales aspect of this job, which again, I hate to tell you, is what we do for a living. It can make it, I think, a lot easier. And I think that you have the potential, especially as an individual agent or agent on a team, you have an opportunity to build a really robust business off of it. Those of you that have team lead aspirations, I'll take a second to tell you here, it is not been enough to solely provide for a team. I've got to do the things that we don't want to do. I've got to call. I don't want to do it. I get no joy from it, but I got to call those leads that are coming into our realty.com lead. But what's really awesome is I get to spend that time saying, how can I convert these people into our sphere? How do I turn these people into people that we love on a regular basis? So it does make lead gen a little bit more fun. And it makes me way more effective because I'm not calling with an agenda. I'm calling to figure out what context can I gather so that I can get these people into our database. Really great example. Realty.com lead. This lady is clicking all over the place, looking at all these houses in Sanford. I picked up the phone and I called her. Her name's Anita. She's great. Anita's like, oh, sweetie, I'm just looking at houses down in Sanford because I'm from there and I've moved to Myrtle Beach. You know, most agents, if they didn't have, I believe, this desire to build their database and to build the sphere, would have been like, oh, that sounds great. Well, thanks so much. Never. Not me. Why'd you move to Myrtle Beach? Well, we retired, whatever. Okay, all right. Has that always been your plan? Just genuine curiosity to get to know Anita. Anita has a sister who lives in Sanford, which is what I probably thought was the case. Somebody else from Sanford was going to go to Myrtle Beach. And sure enough, that sister's in our database. But if you don't really understand some of these components of really building this like lifelong sphere of influence client, sometimes even that lead generation, I think, can fall flat because you'll be focused on that outcome, the immediate outcome, versus how do I get enough context to start putting these people in this database? So if you hate prospecting, if you hate lead gen, if you hate that part of your day, stop looking at it with these metrics of appointment setting, conversations, and start realizing that if this is something you want to do at a high level, start figuring out how do I use these leads to start making our sphere larger, because that's ultimately what we're doing. All right, so we're going to jump in and we're going to spend about 15 minutes really focusing on identifying your sphere. Show of hands or type in the chat box. This is super important. How many of you feel like you have a sphere of influence that's at least 50 contacts deep and is recorded somewhere where you can work it? Yes, my team members better say yes. Yeah, getting there. Awesome. Yes. Yes. The first step is usually trying to get people to recognize the importance of putting it into a database. I have 2 examples that I'm going to give you that talk about this database, because now we're actually talking about the collection of these people, who they are, and how you organize them. Brian Buffini gives a beautiful example, and I have it on the screen behind me, of a plowed field, right? All the little rows are like perfect. They're the same height. The soil looks really rich. It's ready for someone to come in and start planting. That's Brian Buffini's kind of picture of what a database should look like. It's a primed, ready to go. You can go plant whatever seeds you want. You can water it. You can do whatever you want. And you've got the baseline for where, you're going to cultivate and grow your business. I like that. But I'm so an inventor in the Working Genius scale. So I had to come up with something different. And one of the better examples, and I think it's easier to understand, is I like to think of my sphere of influence as a big old tree, a big old fruit tree, like a ginormous fruit tree. And the favorite thing about this tree is that I know if I'm consistently taking care of it, I'm making sure that it has the things that it needs, it's in the right environment. One of the things I can go do when I need leads is I know that it's a source where I can actually go and shake that tree, and I know that some fruit will fall. Why I think this is more powerful is sometimes people feel like this SOI has to be this really long game that doesn't necessarily give you those immediate leads. Just like I could go park myself 3 states over, grab a dialer and a book of expireds and recreate my business. I know that if I need to go cultivate something, if I need some leads to fall, I have this tree. It's like my money tree, and I can go shake it. And I basically am just going through to that tree and saying, hey, who do you know that's looking to buy or sell real estate? Who do you know, Anita, that's going to follow you down to Myrtle Beach in a couple years that might need some advice on how to get their home ready for the market? Who do you know that has some property they've been trying to sell, by themselves that could use our expertise? So I think the cultivated field is a beautiful example. I love to look at it as a tree, because if you do this the right way, it should be something that you can go and take some interaction with. I can't go force a cotton plant to come up in 3 days. I can't force that to happen in a field. I can't get my corn to shoot up in 3 days' time. I do know that I can go to my tree, though, at any point, which is my sphere, and I can gently nudge it and say, hello, what's here? And a piece of fruit will fall. It will. There's always, when your database gets big enough and you start really branching out and having a lot of different areas of people, that will be a lead stream for you that you can always rely on. So that's kind of my favorite. Here's a list of things that your sphere of influence is not. It's not a lead source. Notice I said that it's a tree, but it's not a lead source. Everyone in my sphere of influence is not about to buy or sell. Here's what I find happens with new agents. We'll sit down and we'll try to cultivate their list of 50 people. You know what they'll do? They'll be like, well, I don't know 50 people that are going to buy or sell real estate. And I was like, me neither. If I did, I don't have that list either, friend. So you've got to really recognize that these are just connectors. How many people, this is a pre-COVID number. What do you think on average wedding attendance was, again, pre-COVID, because who knows what it is now? Anyone have any idea what the average wedding attendance was?
120.
Yeah. Yes. All right. How many of you invite complete randos to your wedding that you had no interest in knowing? How many of you, if you had your wedding and Allison was different, I was there, but if you looked at a wedding invite list, you're typically not being like, let me go through the phone book and figure out who I'm going to ask to come here, right? They're typically people that have been a part of your a part of your world, who have watched you grown up, who've watched, have been friends with your parents, that have worked with you. If you think about a wedding invitation list, it's usually people that there's influence over. I got to tell you something. You got to have some pretty good influence over me for me to give up a precious Saturday to go to a wedding, right? I say this about kids' birthday parties. Don't ever count me in for those, but a wedding, I mean, it's going to be pretty compelling, right? My husband always says, I'll catch you on the second one, right? I'll catch you on the second one. Again, we are not inviting casual people into these weddings for the most part. Yes, you might have a so-and-so that your parents knew that you don't really care about being there, but they're in some capacity, someone of influence in your life. Think about the possibility of every single person that you're coming in contact with having a database of about 150. So number one, you should have a database of 150. If you don't, we're going to help you get there. But number two, recognizing that every single person in your database, whether it's got 40 people or 400 people, they have a network of 150 people. We always look at ourselves and we're the hero of our own story, right? We're the center of our world. No, these people are not sitting around talking about you as a real estate agent 24/7 as much as I'd like to think that they are. I think as realtors, we think that we're like, oh, I wonder what they're thinking about me right now as their realtor. I wonder if they're thinking about what realtor they use. Like, no one's thinking about realtors on any given day. What you want to become, though, is the person that 50 or that 150, whatever your data set looks like, or 400, you want to be the name that when their 150 comes asking, that you're very top of mind. And that is at its core the most important thing to recognize your sphere. If you've got someone in your sphere and they just bought their grandmama's house and remodeled it and they're going to pass it down for 18 generations, you cannot leave them out of your data set because you think they're not going to buy or sell. You're missing the whole point of SOI. The point here is to find the person who has 150 people that their world exists with, that they're going to refer you to. These are not people that are obligated to help you. That's another thing that agents get wrong. They think, oh, well, they're in my sphere. It's just like Claire, right? Claire's going to help me out. Claire's going to give me a sale. They're not sitting here obligated to help you. They're not only a business contact. If you treat them in only a business contact way, they will treat you like a business contact. You know what happens? They'll come and they'll say, well, we're interviewing 2 or 3 other agents. They'll treat you like a business partner if you treat them like one. I think that's really important. This won't be uniform, right? You're not going to have this, and this is where that diversification comes in. Your database can't be the same person over and over and over and over again. In order to grow this, you're going to have to diversify. And then also recognizing that an SOI contact is not static. It's not a static entry. You don't get to pat yourself on the back and say, oh, I loaded old Joe in last week. My database grew by 10 people. If you're not going back and you're not making the adjustments to Joe's profile, when you see Joe got divorced, Joe got married, Joe's dog died, if you don't start making those adjustments, these cannot be stagnant contacts for you. Does that make sense? Great. So I want to give you in that workbook, there's a list of places that a lot of people won't think to go get this data set from. Some of you will leave off family members because in your mind, you don't want to work with family. That's fine. Don't work with family. I have one going right now that I kind of wish I wasn't doing. I gave it to Kristen. But here's the reality of it. Those family members, again, have these big data sets. And so maybe, yes, you never want to work with that family member, but you want to work with the people of family. That's a place where people won't go a lot of times, or you guys will think, oh, they're my family, so they know what I'm doing. They don't have a clue what you're doing. They have no idea what you're doing. Put them on your mailing list, show them that you actually have a legitimate business so that they'll feel confident referring you, because they actually feel less inclined to refer you because you are family, and they need to be sure that you have a proven track record before they're going to share your name. Going into people that you have worked with in the past. That's always, most realtors are second career people. That's just the reality of it. Most of us have some career history somewhere else along the way. Go to those places and start asking for that. So I've given you a whole list of places that if you don't have 1 or 2 people from each of these groups, number one, there's probably some opportunity to plug into some other areas, but you also probably just haven't gone deep enough with that. One of the questions that we asked you in your kind of this onboarding piece was, how many database contacts do you have today? So we're going to use that as a baseline. In order to grow your business, your database has to grow. Remember, I just said it's not a static thing. It's constantly moving. So one of the metrics that we're going to look at each week is going to be how many more database additions have you made? Because if you want to start making more money every year, especially in a market where we have so few transactions, you're going to have to really up those database additions. So just take a minute. If you have a good database, which it looks like a lot of you do, just make a couple notes of some places that maybe you haven't tapped. And if you're so bold, share where some of those places are. I'll be the first to admit, I'm at church every Sunday and I have this stigma of like, I don't want people to think I'm at church because I'm trying to get real estate business, because that sounds terrible. But the reality is I'm singing at these people's funerals. Like literally, like that's my second job. I think I should create a Calendly link for like sing at your funeral. That's how frequent it's been lately. Oh, it's been awful. I'd like to do things earlier in their lives than just sing at their funeral, but I'm in praise team every Sunday. I work with the children's choir. And one of the places that I have been bad is I have not gotten a lot of those names into my database. I think in my brain, because we're all human, I'm thinking, well, I don't want them to think I'm at church to do this. But the reality of it is I'm not. There's other places I could go and other things I could do, but they know, like, and trust me. I've shown consistency over time. I'm rooted in that community, and it's a disservice to me and to them to not be able to give them that value add of what my real estate business could offer to their lives. So take a second. And if you're bold enough to share, what's a group that you have not tapped into that you know you've got a hole in your database?
I just have a question on this, Anna.
Yeah, go.
Okay. So I feel like I made this mistake last time when they tell you, who are all the people put them in your database. So all of a sudden, these people are getting emails from me, real estate related, when I know them from a totally different area of my life. And then I go in and then it's like unsubscribe. Like, okay, not doing that again. So if we come up with new people here, like what's a good way to start adding them to your database rather than just a random email? Well, why am I getting emails from Megan all of a sudden? Haven't seen her in a couple of years. She just wants she just wants to sell me real estate.
Yeah. So I think that's common. Jen Bear went through this. She accidentally put everyone on a very aggressive drip campaign when she entered them into Follow Boss, and like her unsubscribe rate went through the roof.
Yeah.
In fact, I had to like take it out of my metrics because I was like, holy moly, what's wrong with our messaging? And I was like, oh, it's just Jen. She had like, she's a former political fundraiser.
Wow.
And so she had a data set. I think our ISA called Tom Tillis. Okay. Like it's not great. It's not great. I'm gonna let Jen talk in a second if she's paying attention to kind of talk about what this has looked like for. Here's the reality. The beauty of this is like most people understand real estate becomes a second career for people. Like that's a given. I think that this is where you leverage, for you, Megan, specifically, you can leverage this thing of, hey, I just got my kids out of the house. I've always I've been intrigued by real estate. I've loved homes. I found a community with this organization, Anna Powell Real Estate. The reason I chose that group is because they're very community centric, and the community has been very important to me over the years. It's helped raise my family. All in all, because of these reasons, I've decided that this is what my next chapter looks like. And I'd love for you to follow along and be part of it. If I can give you some value along the way, be able to help you understand what your home value looks like in this crazy market. That's really what I'm here for, because you're not going after them again with that mindset of, I'm going to send them an email and then dag nabbit, Sally's going to call me 30 minutes to list that house. It's just not reality of this work. So if you know that's not the outcome, don't message for that outcome, right? Make it very much not about you. Make it about how this is a new chapter in your life. Everyone can relate to that. For those of you that are not in that chapter, finding that story and then being able to use it systematically, knowing the script. When I add someone to my database, I say, look, I'm not here. I'm very casual. I'll say, I'm not here to spam you. What I do know is that this market has been absolutely bonkers. I think my messaging is always wealth building, right? I'll always use that as my messaging to start connecting with someone. I'll say, I really believe that our market, apart from many markets in the country, give us a unique opportunity to do wealth building through real estate. So I'm very vested in making sure that you understand what that looks like for you. As a result, putting you on a campaign that's going to allow you to check your home valuations, to know what's going on in the market, and just to have someone that could answer questions for you. Jen's messaging has been, I know she's got people that have had, long relationships with realtors, and her messaging, I know we were talking about, is just like, hey, look, I just love to be your number two, right? If something happens and like that person that's been your guy, like you just wanted a second opinion, I'm just here to be number two, right? I know you, I respect you. I love, spending time with you. I just want to be here as a number two. That's been a really great messaging for Jen. So I think the thing is, the outcome is not for them to turn around and say, I want to list my home with you tomorrow. So how can you make the messaging not make them feel like that's the answer they need from them? Does that make sense?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I might not be thinking that, but I feel like that's what people think the first thing, like, oh, here she comes. Now she's
Allison's going to tell you what a drunk monkey is right now.
Okay.
I was literally about to just scream through the microphone, drunk monkey, like you have a drunk monkey. And Anna mentioned this before, but somebody said this to me one time and I was kind of offended at first, but they were like, you're really very self-centered if you think that people are thinking about you, right? Like, and I was like, well, yeah, of course they are. Like, I'm sending them an email and they think I'm being salesy. And it's like, do you think that Banana Republic is being salesy when they send you a 25% off coupon? Like, do you think, that's a serious question. Do you? Like, the answer is no, right? Like,
no.
That's just their job. They have a product to sell. They want you to know about their product. They've got beautiful marketing, and sometimes you click and sometimes you don't. But guess what they don't do? They don't stop sending you the email, right? And nothing about it is like, oh, Banana Republic, they're cheesy, they're salesy. Like, we're just a product source, right? And we're here to educate people. And your drunk monkey is sitting there just squawking in your ear, and it's stopping you from doing the things that you just need to do.
Yeah. You're right. Well, I feel like I've already made this mistake. This is my second go around.
Well, you know why though? Because in all fairness, the advice you were likely given was you don't want to be a secret agent. You want people to know that you're in real estate. And the messaging this time should be, you have valuable information that can make this person's life significantly better by understanding what home values look like in the market that they live in, that you have now, I think, have a just cause. And this is why I think the just cause is so important. If you miss this, you'll miss the whole thing. Like, your just cause is to be a beacon in the community by putting people first. That's what you said when you joined our team. So in that, it's a higher moral calling than a sales email. You have to buy into, I can make someone's life better. And what I think is so hard, it makes me crazy when agents don't get it, is most of them still, when you ask them, you'll ask them, well, why'd you get into real estate? And a lot of people say, well, to help people. But then they won't pick up the just cause and do it. So I think that it's delicate, but I do think, again, it's just like she said, someone the other day was like, well, what are they going to think if I send them a handwritten card? What are they going to think? I was like, it's going to stand out. How many handwritten cards have you received in the last 6 months? 2, right? That's a marketing piece that's going to stand out, and it's going to give you a reason to make that call. One thing that I think we can do, Megan, this is very in the weeds, but we can go back through that data set and say, hey, where were those unsubscribes from earlier? Who were those people? What does the messaging need to look like? If you get an unsubscribe, if I get an unsubscribe from someone that's not a random lead, that's fine, because the random lead will sometimes wash out our data set by unsubscribing. If it's someone that I feel like should not have unsubscribed, I will pick up the phone and I won't be like, why'd you unsubscribe? But I'll be like, hey, I'm so sorry. I do this all day and I'll tell, I'm super self-conscious. You unsubscribe to our drip campaigns and I'm just curious, did you not find value in them? Because I'm always looking to improve them. You make that call, they will call you to interview you when they go to sell their house. They will. Mm-hmm. They absolutely will. If Banana Republic called me and asked why did I unsubscribe from their email, I would shop there every day for the rest of my life, because that would leave an impression on me, right? It's that we have this drunk monkey, as Allison calls it. It's the best description I can say. And it's just feeding things in your ear that are just not reality. And it is the number one thing that keeps agents, I think, from really breaking through and getting their numbers where they need them to be.
Yeah. Okay, good.
I got a quick question, and you might going to cover this in the training. you know, you talked about emails with home valuations. Are there going to be other examples, or like, I'm just trying to think through what I would send my sphere on a regular basis besides a home, you know?
Yeah, one of the great things Brian Buffini has done is he's made this very systematic. So not only are you going to know what to send, you're going to know the frequency of sending it, you're going to know who to send it to, and you're going to have a clear roadmap by the time we're done with this so that you have a strategy. For this week, we gave you some homework going into the rest of the week so that you have some things to start working on. There's a couple podcasts to listen to. And one of the things is going to be, you know, 3 birthday cards, whether they're belated or not, deliver 3 pop buys, make 10 calls into your sphere. This week is about doing as Allison said, it's going to be the heavy lifting. It's going to be, this feels awkward. I haven't done this before. I don't really know why I'm doing it or how it fits into the bigger purpose. Starting next week, we'll start showing you what the system looks like because it's very well developed. We're going to build out, you know, rank your database, tell you how many times you touch this ranking, this ranking, this ranking, what this ranking gets, what that ranking gets. It's all systems and processes. I wouldn't be able to do it at a high level if it wasn't. There's one thing in your workbook that gives you three little applications. So number 1, if you're having a hard time building your database, everyone here is old enough to do this, I think. Maybe not. There might be some of you this doesn't work very well on. Most of you it'll work. Go to Facebook. You want to build your database fast. Commit 12 months to Facebook birthdays. That's it. Facebook birthdays. Every single last month or last week of the month. So between now and next Wednesday, go, and I've given you a little graphic. You just go into events. It'll pop up at birthdays, and it'll give you everyone's birthday in your Facebook world. If you want to build your database because your database feels weak, this is the absolute best way to start. Because what it'll do is it'll prompt you to make sure that the person's in your database. It'll give you a reason to send them a card. And you can go ahead and put that birthday data right in there. I built my database from 50 to 200 literally on this exact item. Now, could it give you a skewed data set because you have a bunch of people that you're friends with on Facebook and you're missing other places? Yeah, that's what happened to me. That's why I preach diversification there for a solid couple of minutes, because if you only do this, it's not going to be enough. But that is one of the easiest ways to go trigger your brain for database building. The second thing is, if you're not into any kind of CRM, I'm going to drop, can you drop my Calendly link on here? I'm going to drop my Calendly link on here. I won't give you 45 full minutes of my time because talking about CRM for 45 minutes is excessive, but I'll give you a link to block 45 minutes of my time. We won't need it. If you're not in a CRM that's working for you, I will tell you what to do. So if you're not in a CRM, which is a customer relationship management software, and if I have to say that to you, you should definitely book an appointment. We got to get you into something that's going to let that database work for you. And then finally, tracking prospecting. Tracking prospecting when you're sphere of influence driven is very hard. Does anyone know why? Most of these conversations aren't happening in strict time blocks from 10 to 12 like they would be if you're prospecting expired listings or going through your data set. You know where these conversations happen? They happen when you're at the post office and you bump into someone. They happen when you're in the carpool line at school. They happen in the craziest of places. And what happens is you'll have the conversation and then most agents will walk away from the conversation. And number 1, they won't realize that they just built a database contact if that person wasn't there. And number 2, they won't record that event happened. If you are doing this at a high level, the best thing I can tell you to do is go onto Amazon right now, buy a stopwatch, put it in your pocket for the next week. You're going to skew the data because there's a stopwatch in your hand. So you're going to start either you're going to avoid conversations because you want to get a baseline, or you'll start having more because you want your data to be better. Challenge yourself for 4 days to carry that stopwatch very actively in a pocket. And anytime that you have the opportunity to have a conversation with someone that is real estate driven, click that stop. They won't think you're crazy. Like, they will not think you're crazy. Like, I've done this tons of times. You can figure it out. Like, you're just going to click that stopwatch. And when that conversation is, click it off. What some of you don't realize is you think that you're having a lot of real estate conversations because you're bumping into people. And in reality, the real estate piece never comes. And if that real estate piece doesn't come, you can't click the stopwatch, right? Others of you will have conversations all day long and you won't realize that you prospected in the lease. Then you'll start going and barking for, leads to come down the tree so that you can go service a buyer or seller who's ready to go. And what you don't realize is you actually have spent all week prospecting your sphere of influence, but you didn't make any recordation of it. And you didn't count it towards your work. So really, Kat, the homework is in the, it's in the handbook, which Haley can drop the link fresh if you don't see it. But just making sure that you're really aware of how much time you're spending in these conversations so that you get a baseline of, we got to know, just like a highly, prospecting expired person understands, I got to make X amount of calls to get this many conversions in order to do this. If you can understand these metrics, if you know how much time you spend a week actually prospecting your sphere of influence, we can help you figure out what your conversion rate looks like in your sphere of influence prospecting. What that does is at 5 o'clock, if I haven't had my 8th conversation of the day in real estate, you know what I got to go do? I got to go engineer one. And I can tell you what, that will make you make a phone call because you don't want to miss that mark because you know what you got to do. I'm going to turn it over to Haley. One thing we're going to do, because again, I want this to be very interactive, is we've actually taken off all of y'all that are on today. I know we had maybe another like 5 or 6 registered that I don't see on here. So we'll add them in if they join us next week. But we wanted to build little sphere of influence accountability groups. We will send you emails connecting all of you when we get off of here, but Haley's going to share who you're connected with. Again, I don't want to spend an hour and a half of your week and you not move the needle with your sphere of influence prospecting. If that, then we shouldn't be here because this doesn't make me feel joy if you guys aren't seeing results. So I want to create some mini accountability groups so that you guys have some community going through this through the next week. You can check in and say, hey, what does this look like? Did you get this what did you think of this podcast? Did you get this listen done? How hard was it having that first phone call in to someone you haven't talked to in a couple of years? Jen, how did that go for you? So we did want to create a little community within this 6-week mastermind. So I'm going to turn it over to Haley to take care of that.
All right. Oh, I feel like I just dropped a beat and I should have rapped, but I missed my moment. Okay. So 2 things. I have posted a few times that link to do those few questions. I think really the hard-hitting questions are 10 total in that Google form. So if you haven't, I think there's 19 people that have completed it, which honestly is pretty good. But if you haven't, please do that at least before the next meeting so that when we get to the meeting next week, you'll have fresh information to input for us. Second thing is, I did put Anna's Calendly link there. Please note that it is for a full hour, but obviously she will not talk to you about all things CRM for an hour, probably just about 30 minutes. I did put the handbook in there one more time for you guys. And then lastly, I did a really cool random draw on Google. And so I've just put that into the chat box. Rachel, you entered a little bit after, and I didn't want to redraw all my groups because I already made a graphic, but you will be in the group with Gwendy and Claudia, and I'll make sure to send that email out to you guys. So there are 9 teams total, 3 in each, and that just gives you guys a little bit of wiggle room. Oh, I was laughing pretty hard at this. I don't know who is coming in just on the iPhone that's registered, but there's only one of you. So whoever is just iPhone, you're in group 7. If you'd like to reveal your name, I'm happy to change that and update it. But as for right now, I will refer to you as iPhone. Any questions on those groups and teams?
New friends.
Yeah. That's it for my.
Perfect. We'll also, I'll send out a little questionnaire just on what value looks like, just so you know where we're going. You can always refer back to that flow desk that had chart of accounts of what we have on the docket, but we are going to start talking about tactical marketing, how to tell your story brand. All of those things will lay in over the next couple of weeks. This is primarily to get some information to you today was really more about the philosophy of why to do this business, how to do this business. It will be very tactical from here. And we may not need more than 30 minutes to cover the subject matter. And then I hope you'll just use it as a time block to get the work done. I don't think that there's ever been a market, in which like this might pay off more than right now. One thing I'll leave you with, we were at EXPCon with our organization in Vegas, and Michael Valdez had everyone that was an agent in 2009 raise their hand. And then he said, basically he asked people to leave their hand up if they felt like the market that we're in currently was wonkier than 09. And most of the hands stayed up. And here's what I believe. There's so much inconsistencies in the market. I know we're primarily Southeast here on this call, but knowing from week to week what our business is going to look like is really hard. People are looking for consistency. And I think this is the absolute best way to build it. It's just by being a true advisor in your own sphere and network. And I think that as people are confused about what to do with their assets and how to manage this market, I think they will look to you so much faster. If you have the systems and processes in place to be this. You guys are already this. What I've talked about today, I have no doubt y'all are already these people. What we want to do is we want to make sure that that messaging is clear to the people that are going to send you business. You should be rewarded for being the people that you already are, and that's all that this does. So congratulations, you're in a tough market. If anyone tells you you're not, they're lying. Our goal here is just to make you the best agent you can be to the people that really, really do matter in your world so that you can go help people. So thanks for joining. We'll see you guys next week. It will be at 11. We'll send a Zoom link will be the same. We'll send an email the night before so everyone can get on the same page, and I will not do that so late at night.
Thanks, you guys.
I'll leave Zoom on for a while. If anyone's got anything to share as we're exiting, I'll just mute
Allison
myself.
also just had a great idea. When I send out the groups later this afternoon, I'm going to send out your affiliate link for your CRM so that they'll have that.
Oh, perfect. I don't have one. Bob won't give me one.
Oh,
It was-
Follow Boss. She said her HomeBot or whatever you're using.
So I was talking about
we'll figure it out.
For
People
fellow,
are leaving, but Fellow's amazing. We already have so many people engaging with it. Okay, that's all I have to say. Bye.
yeah, I was talking about Fellow, by the way, Haley. That's what I was, because somebody was asking about how to engage with the with their like sellers or whatever. So Fellow or HomeBot was a good one. So I was just talking about throwing in the link there. And then I don't know if people are using a tracking system for any of our solo agents, but you can always throw in your affiliate link for CTE as well, because that's like a really
Wait, Allison's talking. Why can't we hear her?
Oh, because I have the volume down. I'm sorry. We didn't care about what you heard.
Never mind. It's okay. I was saying to throw the Fellow link or your HomeBot affiliate link in there, because that way people were asking how to like engage with their sellers on like what, you know, or their past buyers on what their home is worth. So throw the Fellow or HomeBot affiliate link in there. And then my other thought was, this might be farther down in the class, but just to get people start tracking their numbers now, throw your CTE link in there so that people can really understand that we've got to go into 2024 tracking our business. We have to know what our lead and lag indicators are in our business.
Can you hear me? We'll talk about creating a scorecard in one of these modules as well. That'll be towards the end, because that's gonna be more holistic business planning. This is not, just as Brian does, this is not just a quick look at how to work your sphere of influence. We're gonna give you some holistic business practices that you can apply as well.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. And you might have answered it. I might have missed it for a minute.
Oh, hey, girl.
Hey. So when you kind of approach someone you know who is kind of like a sphere of influence, but it's like someone that you know, but it's not someone you're friends with, right? It's just someone that you know in regular life, right? And you kind of approach them about real estate and you've talked to them. How many touches do you, and you get their phone number, right? How many touches do you have to have before you put them in the Follow Up Boss database to kind of like ask for their email, like without looking like you're being too pushy? 0. Okay.
Here's the reality. I have sent cards in the mail to people that I got their mailing address out of the tax record, who probably had no clue it was coming.
Register for anything. I just started getting.
And let me be very honest with, 100%. I was like, oh, Haley should be in my database. Don't really know why, but she should. Here's the reality of that. If that person is turned off because you sent them a card unsolicited, I can promise you, you should not care if they're in your database or not, because you're not going to work with them. So the reality of that is, again, you're giving people that are going to warm up to you, that are going to be good referrers of your business, an opportunity to come be a part of it.
Okay.
And if they don't accept that, that's okay. That's okay. Because this isn't an obligation, right? For them. Like, it's
Right.
not like you're opting them into being, you know, like an employee of yours. What you will, though, find is you want to figure out who are the marketers, who are the ISAs that you can go hire for your business at
Right.
no cost, right, to you. And yeah, you're going to hit some, right? You're going to hit some along the way that aren't going to fit that bill. But just like any other business, they're going to cycle out, right? And that's okay. You're going to have some turnover on this database, no doubt.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
And again, that's the drunk monkey a little bit saying, oh, you're going to ruin the potential because you don't do it right at the start. In reality, no one's thinking about it that way. No one's waiting to be like, how's Mary going to pitch me to be a proponent of her business? They're not thinking that way. They're
Okay.
saying, oh, Mary sent me this really nice market update on our neighborhood. That's awesome. Cool. And, or they're saying, this girl's an idiot. Who's
Yeah.
the thing? Do you want to learn to work with the person that thinks you're an idiot? I don't, right? And so like cycle on out, dog. Cycle out. We're good. You're gonna have some turnover here.
All right. Cool. Thanks.
But think about what impact you could make on someone that does need that information, that you gave it to them unsolicited, and how much value they would find in it. It's gonna always outweigh the one or two misses.
Okay. Super. Thank you.
I can't hear you now.
Yeah, I
hate technology.
I was saying that we had a question about the week of Thanksgiving, but we'll probably just push that week off and probably in the first week of December, but we'll make it official next week. That's all for me. Anybody else? Anna, any official sign off words?
No,
See you next week.
Thanks for coming. If you found this valuable and you have, share it. People can pop in next week. So
Yeah,
share.
our groups will just get bigger.
That's right. Thanks, everyone. Bye.